Hello, everybody, and welcome to this eMarketeer Academy webinar on online event management with eMarketeer. I look forward to taking you through today's webinar and demonstration, and I hope that this could inspire you. If you're already an eMarketeer user, this could inspire you to use eMarketeer in new ways, or even maybe elaborate on the way that you do use eMarketeer today. And if this is all brand new to you, I hope that at least we can inspire you on how to spice up your event management and make it easier for you guys. So that is the plan today. So let me go ahead and share my screen. You should be seeing my slides. It says online event management with eMarketeer November 12th. That is today. We're on topic. Let's get going. My name is Klaus, as mentioned. I'm a product evangelist here at eMarketeer, and I'm working like you guys, I assume, with marketing and marketing projects. I am working with my colleagues in the marketing team and the sales team, trying to make the best of our time and money spent on marketing and aligning sales and marketing goals with one another. That is what we focus on. And I get to inspire a lot of you guys by doing webinars and videos like this. And I can't wait to get started. So let's move along. We're going to be somewhere between 45 minutes to an hour on the webinar today, depending on how many questions you have. We'll all be muted, but do go ahead and send me questions in the questions box on the left or right hand side of your screen. You should see a GoToWebinar control panel. You'll see a questions box there. You can type in your questions. I will try to pick up the questions during the webinar and certainly at the question and answer session at the end of the webinar. If for some reason I skip one of your questions, I promise I will follow up with you directly after the webinar. So whatever it is, if it's question, if it's technical stuff, maybe you have a great idea, maybe you've done something really cool with your events that you think that I should share with the folks today on the webinar, please send everything my way. It just makes this a lot more interesting for everybody if you can inspire each other as well. The recording will be available and the slides will be available, so don't worry too much about where I click or what I do. You can always go back and watch the recording. I'd hope that you would want to share the recording with some of your colleagues, so to inspire your peers in sales and marketing with what is possible here. That would obviously be super cool. What we will be looking at today, actually, you could argue that why are we talking about events in the first place? You know, in these crazy times, in this COVID-19 situation, can we do events at all? Well, obviously, physical events are kind of challenged right now due to the restrictions that we are under. But obviously, virtual events, video events, webinars, digital conferences are popping up like weed, and we need to figure out what are we doing here. And then, of course, spent most of our time looking at how to do event management in eMarketeer, because even though that online versus physical events are very, very different, the whole process of managing your event communication really doesn't differ that much, and you can really benefit from doing some of this stuff in a better and more automated way. Well, we are eMarketeer. We are a marketing automation platform. We've been around since 2002, so we have the tools you need for a lot of your event communication in place in one platform. And that platform really consists of a lot of different parts that can be used together. Today, obviously, we're going to focus on, let me just bring up my pen here, on the event management piece, because that is what the topic is. But really, event management has to do with a lot of different components, right? You need emails to do invitation. You need forms to do registrations. You need surveys to do, well, surveys and evaluations. What did people think? Maybe you want to do quizzes. Maybe you have breakout sessions with feedback forms where you need to gather feedback from your audience. Maybe you need to send text messages or even do mobile apps for your events, whether it's physical or online. Extending the event lifetime with different components that can really bring your content across to your audience is key. Maybe you want to build landing pages that communicate your event or that shares videos and slides and speaker information and so on. So as you can see, just getting started here, there are a lot of different components that could go into your event communications strategy and tactics, and they're all in the same toolbox. then obviously as a marketer, you're interested in knowing, how is my event doing from a performance perspective. You want to make sure that you can automate things. So when someone signs up in the form, you want to make sure that they get the email automatically. And when the event is done, you want to make sure that they get the evaluation and so on. So the automation piece is really central for your sanity and for your event effectiveness when you build your event communication. Okay, so let's just briefly talk about events in a post-COVID-19 world. Right now we're in the special situation where online events and hybrid events, virtual conferences are pretty much the only thing we can do right now when it comes to events, at least in many countries, both due to regulations, and restrictions, but also due to the way that we feel about going out and about, meeting a lot of people, obviously, in this time. So if we fast forward a little bit, what does the short to midterm future look like for events? And Marketing Technology, or martech.com, has done a survey. It's an American survey, and it's done towards sales and marketing professionals. And they've asked people about what they think about events in the short to midterm perspective. And they asked, for instance, unless there's a vaccine, I'll only be attending virtual events through the first half of 2021. And to this question, or to this statement, more than 60% agreed, right? So the majority here, without a vaccine, will not even be considering going to physical events for the foreseeable future, reaching into 2021. So whether you think virtual events or online events or hybrid events are not something that you're comfortable with, at least this is what is going on with a lot of your event goers. They will not be at physical events for good reasons here. Now, if we ask the same group about virtual events, the majority of the folks have actually participated. So when asked, have you joined a virtual event in the last quarter, more than 80% respond yes. So while the physical events aren't happening, a lot of virtual events are. You could call this a virtual event, actually. It's a small scale one, but nevertheless, a lot of people have either started or are continuing to increase their participation in virtual events. And the neat thing is here that 3 in 4 were satisfied with the experience they got. So asked about the satisfaction with virtual event experience, more than 75% said that they enjoyed or were satisfied with the virtual event experience. So if we rely on event management, if we rely on lead generation from physical events, or used to do so at least, there is a silver lining that people are really engaging in virtual events. They're happy with the experience they have, and they are certainly inclined to only participate in virtual events in the foreseeable future, going into 2021. So there are some key considerations here about what has changed, about what is going on with technology, and most importantly, maybe what is going on with us as participants. So the first thing is the situation we're in now has really accelerated virtual event maturity. And what does that mean? I like to think about the maturity for virtual events in 2 different streams, if you will. One is the technologies that are available to us. That has really accelerated during 2020. The amount of tools that are out there for us, video streaming, event conference platforms, and so on. And the other stream of maturity has to do with us as participants. Going back 12 months, a lot of people weren't really used to working in a virtual setting, weren't used to going to meetings on Zoom and GoToMeeting and Teams and Slack and whatnot. It wasn't a part necessarily of their everyday lives. Now, I don't think there's a single person who hasn't participated in tons of these types of meetings. So not only are we familiar with the technology, but we're also comfortable with the setting of being in front of a screen, maybe being in front of a camera, participating virtually in meetings, big and small. So the maturity is there both on the tech side and on the event goer participant side. Then the next key consideration is virtual events, surprise, are not physical events, which means that if you used to do one thing for your physical events and you kind of have your this is how we do events, you really need to rethink that whole process. Trying to kind of mimic and copy the physical experience in a virtual environment really doesn't fly. Mingling, the social aspects, all of that are really difficult to replicate into a virtual setting. Just look at us now. We've been here 11 minutes and none of us have chit-chatted. No questions has come through. This would never happen in a physical setting, right? So, and I think also this focus on virtual reality and augmented reality, where we kind of try to copy the physical space into a virtual one with booths and expo areas virtually. I'm not quite sure that I've seen solutions on that are really, really cool and that people would really want to do. So don't try to mimic your physical events. But let's look at the advantages that virtual events do have, right? They're very cost effective. They do not cost nearly as much as your physical event. I looked at a stat also from Martech. They said that when you look at the total event expenditure, so the cost of doing an event, you spend pretty much 20% on venue. Then you add food and beverages, another 10-20%. Then you add logistics and equipment, another 20%. And when you really add all the things down, you're looking at less than 10% of your event expenditure is actually spent on content. Just think about that. So 90% or so of your costs are practicalities, hardware, food, venue, travel, all of that stuff, and only less than 10% are spent on the actual stuff that you will present and communicate at the event. That's a bit of mind-boggling, actually. But with virtual events, we can really flip that and use our money and use our time on creating content, material, speakers, videos, whatnot for the event. So the cost side is really on the event organizer's side here. People are prone to participate in more virtual events because of it's more time efficient. You don't spend travel costs and so on. So you will actually see more people going to your virtual events than you would normally see going to your physical events. With regards to lead capture and tracking what's going on your virtual events, that is also a huge advantage because, you know, think about your event booth somewhere. You would have your sales team there trying to engage with people and get their contact details and so on. When the events are digital, you have the contact details. If you do things smartly, you have permission to communicate with them. So you have a much better chance of actually engaging with a broader percentage of your audience. And the last consideration here is manage your marketing technology stack with care. What does that mean? Your MarTech stack is the different tools that you use for your marketing purposes. So your invitations, your registrations, your mobile apps, the event platform, all of the different bits and pieces that you want to use for your event. Really think about how you make that smart. Don't make this a patchwork of disconnected systems, because that will really be tiresome for you to work with. So spend your time researching which tools are good for you when you move into this. That will be time well spent. So these were some of the key considerations. If you have other thoughts, ideas, considerations about what really differentiates here, or questions maybe about this this paradigm here, let me know in the questions box and we can discuss them. Now, I won't go into specific event platforms, event tools, streaming services, virtual conference systems, because there's so many. You may already have some, and what is right for you may really differ. So what I'm just going to show you is that, and this is a beautiful slide, right? This is a slide of 8,000 different products that are available for sales and marketing purposes. So anything from CRM systems to advertising systems to email service providers and whatnot. More than 8,000 pieces of software out there. And if we focus in on just this lot down here, this lot is the event and meetings and webinars solutions. There are more than 200 solutions. Oh, my handwriting is beautiful, right? More than 200 solutions just in this space alone, right? So you have your GoToWebinars, your Zooms, your Event Team, your Air Meets, your all of these different platforms that you may already be using, some of them in your organization, or maybe you're researching. So there are just a lot of different tools out there to go for. So what are you supposed to do? I would say be humble and start small. You know, the largest and most advanced platform is not necessarily the right for your fit. But obviously you need to think ahead about what you want to be able to achieve with your virtual event. The key thing here is think about data. Think about GDPR, think about data portability. Can you get data in and out of your system there? And make sure that you can try it out internally. Most of these tools will give you a free trial or free demos, and really spend some time researching what works for you and what meets your requirements there. So just an amazing landscape of technology available to us there. Okay, so let's look at the event process and what that really entails. And this is where virtual events and physical events actually don't differ that much, because you do need invitations, you need people to register, you need websites to communicate what the event is all about. Maybe you want to remind people to either sign up or make specific choices for breakout sessions and so on. You need confirmations and follow-ups, surveys and evaluations, both during and after an event, and so on. So you really need a lot of different moving parts to play together, regardless whether this is a virtual or a physical event. And since this is the case, many events will have you require different tools, right? You need websites, you need mobile communication platforms, you need survey forms, you need survey platforms, and so on. Which means that if you do not organize this in a central place, you're left with little or no overview of what's going on, and your sales team have no clue about what's going on either. Remember, these events, we're probably not just doing them for the sake of marketing. We're probably doing them to align with sales and supply them with leads, with customer relationships, with insights into what their customers and leads are interested in. And if you leave them out of the loop, they won't be too happy with your event performance there. So in many cases, your event management platform ends up becoming Excel, because that's where you then can pull data in from all these different systems. Let me know. I can already see some comments coming in there that they recognize this situation. So Excel becomes the place where you manage your events, because you need to pull in data from different sources. Now, with events and with digital events or virtual events in particular, you may not be able to escape Excel altogether, because maybe you can't tie in all of the technical solutions into one, and that may be fine, but just at least try to make your event process as effective as possible by minimizing the manual work that you'll be putting in. Now, what we do with eMarketeer, gathering all of this stuff in the same platform, means that for you as the event organizer, it is easy for you to organize everything neatly in one place. You can reuse your designs, your stock photos, your event process time and time again. Your event guest will have a uniform experience, since all of the different touch points will be sent from eMarketeer. So everything looks the same, comes from the same mail server, has the same URLs, and so on, which is a good experience, brand experience for the event guest. It makes it easy for you to communicate to sales when something important happens, right? When someone registers, you can inform sales. When someone evaluates, maybe gives a negative evaluation, you can inform sales to get on the ball, or your account managers to get on the ball. You can share online real-time updated reports with your colleagues internally to show them what's going on with your event. Now, for physical events, you may also need external partners like hotels, catering, transport companies, and other persons that needs information about your event, but obviously shouldn't have access to your eMarketeer accounts or internal systems. So sharing online reports with up-to-date information is really key there, instead of playing email ping pong back and forth with your vendors and suppliers and partners. And in physical events, maybe being able to port data back and forth between eMarketeer and other platforms could be very beneficial for you to look into. In our case here, where we use GoToWebinar, we integrate with GoToWebinar via Sapir. our integration platform, not our integration platform, but an integration platform that eMarketeer communicates with. So when someone signs up in an eMarketeer form, I can automatically register them in GoToWebinar and so on. So I have really a closed loop communication with GoToWebinar using the Sapir connection there. So really making this effective, making it possible for you to share information with colleagues, with external partners, and with external systems with ease is really key here. So that means that we, on one platform, can communicate before the event and really think about maybe how can we extend the event lifetime here, right? So your event is either an hour or a couple of hours or a day, I don't know. Maybe a virtual event on a full day is kind of a tall order. But anyway, think about how you can extend the event lifetime to start before the event actually takes place. Maybe you have some good pre-event material. Maybe you want to deliver a mobile app where they can start to build some buzz around the event, getting to know the speakers, getting to know the topics. If it's a big agenda, getting to figuring out what they want to participate in and so on. So that the further you can stretch your event timeline, the more value and relation you will build with the event. Then on the event, you have different things happening. Obviously, they're participating in some kind of virtual or physical setting. Maybe you're doing quizzes or getting feedback or asking questions to the audience. Certainly after the webinar, you want to follow up with evaluations and more information about what the people found interesting. And then obviously keeping sales in the loop with who were there, did anybody request a meeting, are there any positive or negative feedback that we need to take care of, and so on. So really have everything pre-event on site, either online or physical, and then after the event really have a nice plan laid out there for you to be able to automate and schedule. And then when sales needs to engage, they can go back and see what have people been doing, what have they been answering, and so on, and make that available to them. All right, so let us go into looking at how you can organize an event in eMarketeer with these thoughts in mind. Again, keep the questions and comments going here. I can already see there are some questions about specific systems or some questions around Sapir. If you want to know more about that, just let me know in the questions box and we can kind of dive into some of these things as we move along. Okay, so the event management process, well, I guess we need to get somebody to go to our event, right? So we need to have some kind of invitees to invite to our event. They can be organized in filters or lists in eMarketeer. You can upload them from other systems or Excel files into eMarketeer, so you have tabs on everything that's going on there, and then send them your invitation there. The invitation could go on to a registration page, so we know who's coming. The registration page can be pre-populated with all the information you already have, so you make it really easy to register and increasing your conversion rates there. Obviously, you can also get traffic from adverts, from social media, from lead ads and whatnot into your form there, so that people can join not only from your lists but also from externally. Then as they join, you want to make sure that you can send them a confirmation email automatically, so they really get information right then and there on your event. And at this point also is a good point to start reporting and notifying people in your organization about what's going on. Instead of answering questions all the time from your colleagues, whether this or that person has registered, you can just share reports that will show everybody that's registered at any given moment. And then finally, we want to make sure that we can automate reminders so that you can schedule this entire flow. So for instance, 4 days before the event, you want to send a reminder to everybody that was invited, minus the people who have already registered. So that could be one way of doing it, and eMarketeer can take care of this entire process by scheduling it. So let's have a look at our event in eMarketeer, where we have our invitees, we have invitations, registration pages, and we want to set up some scheduling here for this purpose. So in eMarketeer, I have prepped an event for us called virtual event. But again, whether this is a virtual event or physical event, it doesn't really differ that much when it comes to the actual communications around the event. Did I get one step too far. Let me go into this one. Virtual event, eMarketeer. Here we are. So here is my event, and I have my different event components. I have my invitation. I have a registration page where people can register. I have my confirmation email. I have a reminder email. I have an SMS that I would like to send out the day before to my recipients. They can also join via their phone, for instance, or if this was a physical event, I could send them some driving directions or whatever, just remind them that this is taking place. And you'll find that your SMSs are really quite a good communications tool for your events. You know, think about your own phone. How many emails do you get on your phone each day, and how many text messages do you get on your phone? I'm pretty sure that you open up all of your text messages and read them, whereas some of the emails, they're either being deleted right away or simply drown in the inbox. So text messages are kind of a good way to, at least to consider for your events, both online and physical. Then after the event, we have evaluations and evaluation invitation and an evaluation form. So all of the bits and pieces I need for the event communication are organized neatly in my campaign here. And just opening up some of the components, I have my email invitation with details for the event. It's obviously personalized in the headline, in the content here to get the attention of my event goer. I have a sign up link, obviously, that links to the registration form. And by linking the email to the registration form means that the form knows who's visiting the form. So all of the fields can be pre-populated nicely in my registration form. The registration form can either obviously this design is just an example. This can be completely customized. The registration form can be in several pages if you would like. If you have many different sections or breakout things that they can sign up for your event, you can do all of that. You can hide and show questions and create rules so you do not overbook your events and so on. So there are lots of different things you can do. This is just a pretty basic one, registration, and I'm asking what is your favorite car, and I can use that information for segmenting and sending more information in the future. So there's my registration page. Now, after they register, I would like the confirmation email to be sent automatically. And as you can see, I've added an automation here. So let's have a look at some of the automations that I've put in place and some of the scheduling I've put in place to make this event flow seamlessly and effectively. So I'm going to look at automations, and here is the list of automations I've created for this event. The first one is send confirmation. When the Avenir registration is submitted, it should send the email confirmation. Let's have a look at that one, how you set up these automations. I'm giving it a name, and then I'm saying, okay, in my campaign virtual event, I have an email. These are the different emails I have in that. You remember the invitation, confirmation, reminder, and evaluation. I would like to send the confirmation email without any delay when someone submits the registration form. That's it. Then that happens automatically at the dot. When someone registers, they get the event confirmation right away. So that is an easy way to get your things automated. I can also, as you remember, when they registered, I had these two fields, Porsche and Chevrolet, which was their favorite car. And I'm also going to update our contact card because I can use that information for future send outs, for webinar follow-up or event follow-up. Maybe my salespersons would like to know what they're interested in. So I'm doing a set value on contact card automation here. So just let's look at that one real quick. I'm saying to eMarketeer, please set the field. These are the fields on my contact card. On the field Porsche, please check that. When someone in the registration answers in a specific way, in this case, what is your favorite car? Porsche. Now, when that happens, the Porsche field on their contact card is checked. So I can use this in filters, I can use this in future send out, and it's good information for my sales team, maybe what this person is interested in. Now, obviously, you could also use agenda. If they can sign up for different parts of the agenda, you can use that and update those interest fields in eMarketeer as well. So you have tabs on what people are interested in. All right. So as you can see, I have a couple more updates here that should happen automatically. So we have the invitation, we have the registration, and we have the confirmation. Now these things are automated to go out in the correct time. Then I have my reminder. My reminder is obviously due to be sent out prior to the event to the people that haven't registered yet, so that they can get on the ball and register. You can see my event date is not quite correct here, so I'll just do my last edits to the event. We can't have November 10th. It's going to be November 22nd. There we go. So that is my event day, updated and ready to be scheduled. Now, the scheduling of the campaign or the reminder send out is pretty straightforward. Come on, it's loading a little bit slowly, and I don't have patience when I'm demoing. Sorry about that. So what I want to do when I set up the reminder is I want eMarketeer to send the reminder to everybody that was invited to my event but haven't signed up yet. So if we just go to the to this situation here. So the reminder over here should be sent at a specific date to the people that got the invitation but have not yet registered, right? That is what I want to achieve. So I'm going to choose the reminder. I'm going to choose send. And then instead of sending it right away, I will choose the scheduled send option. You can see my send options: send now, schedule, automate. I'm going to choose schedule, and then I get to choose which participants should be getting my reminder. Now, at this point, I don't know, right? Because I don't know who has been invited, and I don't know who has registered. So I'm going to do a selection. And a selection, you can add recipient based on events in emails, forms, blah, 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 blah. And this is what I'm going to build up. So first of all, I'm going to, in my selection, I'm going to add all of the people that have been invited to the event. Obviously, these are the folks that should be getting the reminder. So in the email invitation, they should have, yeah, it should have been sent to them. So that's my first group of people that I want to add to the selection. Everybody that got the invitation. Now, obviously, I want to make sure that I do not send the reminder to the people who already registered, right? So I'm going into add more recipients. I'm going to choose the selection again, and then I'm going to say everybody that submitted the registration, put them into the selection as well and block them from the send out. So you can see the invitation recipients, the registrations, submissions, I can block those. So what I'm telling eMarketeer now is, what I'm telling eMarketeer is at a specific time, let's say 4 days before the event was on the 22nd, so that would be on the 18th at 11 o'clock, send the reminder to everybody that received the invitation, but block the people who've already registered. And these numbers will obviously be updated at the 18th at 11 o'clock when the email goes out. So there you go. You continue to checklist. You verify that the settings on your checklist are okay, and you can schedule your email. So that means that taking care of who should be getting the email is a straightforward process. Because eMarketeer takes care of who has registered and who has not registered yet. Right, so now we've got our invitation out, we've got the registrations coming in, we've got confirmations and reminders automated and scheduled. Now is a good time to start building some reports for my colleagues. So for instance, I want to do a report on everybody that's registered and share that with my organization. So I'm going to click reports. And for this case, I have the report of the form. I can see a brief overview of the answers here on the dashboard. I have form results, so I can see how many have registered, what are their preferences. On the spreadsheet, I can see everybody that has registered, a lot of demo contacts here, obviously. And I want to make sure that this is readily available to my colleagues. So I'm going to click share and then create Avenir Future Watch. It's the name of my event. Registration report. Hi all. In this report, you can see who has registered for our event. Something like that. I can choose what to include, which fields to include, which context fields to include. I can hide fields from the report. I can give it a password if I want to, just settings for you to play around with. And then save and publish, and I get a URL for my report. So I can send this URL to my colleagues that will get a nice looking visual representation of the event process, how many people have registered. They can see the details there, and that will always be up to date when they open this report. So I don't need to play email ping pong back and forth with outdated lists. That's a good and easy way to keep my colleagues up to speed with what's going on in the event registration process. And obviously, I can do exactly the same thing with the evaluation report. So I can share an overall evaluation of the event with my colleagues, management, or whomever is interested in getting that as well. So I just go into reports here and do exactly the same thing. I also have a reminder, SMS reminder laying around that I want to send out the day before. Creating an SMS in eMarketeer is really easy. It's just that like editing anything else here. You can type your message. You can use personalization, obviously. In this case, we're saying we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at the Virtual Future Watch. Are you joining from your phone? Use this link, and then you could link to the event platform. You can also use personalization in the links as well. So if you have unique links to your event, you can merge in IDs or email addresses or things like that right into the URL. So every URL will be unique on your recipient's end. A good thing to know about sending SMSs, if you haven't done so from eMarketeer, is you can have your own sender ID. By default, it will be eMarketeer. So on your recipient's phone, it will say eMarketeer. But you can create your own sender ID. You can read more about that on the link here, so that you can have your own company name, event name, or whatever you would like up there, so that your recipients can see that this message really comes from you. And again, this SMS could be scheduled or automated, just like we've seen before. Maybe set this up, send the SMS to everybody that signed up for the event the day before the event, for instance. So that could be one way of going about it. Now, then after the event, I have my evaluation that I would like to go out automatically to everybody that registered, and I have the evaluation report there, the evaluation form. In the evaluation, I have a couple of questions that I want to be specifically or be focused on. For instance, I have one that says, would you like to recommend this conference to others? Now, if people answer no, I would like to reach out to the sales team or the account management team, somebody in my organization saying, here is somebody who had a negative experience, and I want to make sure that they know. There's also another one, would you like to book a meeting? Yes, please contact me. Obviously, sales need to get right on the ball there. So there are a couple of different things that I care about in this form, apart from just getting evaluations about the event here. So I want to have a few automations happening when these things take place. And as you can see, just get rid of this. As we move forward, we have the day before reminder, we have the evaluation that goes out, and I want to make sure that I can notify my colleagues with any tasks they need to do or follow up on based on evaluations there. So we're going to do that with automations as well. Just let me go back to the campaign overview and look at some of the automations that are neat in this scenario. So I'm going to view my automations here, and I have one that's called negative evaluation. And the automation here is when a question in the form evaluation is answered in a specific way, I want to send a notification to somebody. Okay, so let's look at how that is done. We're going to give it a name, obviously. I can add email addresses and even phone numbers. So I could do maybe sales at a company or account management or whatever. If we have shared sales inboxes, I can also add more email addresses to the notification and more phone numbers. And then, so a notification would go off to the email addresses and the phone numbers here when something specifically happens. In this case, for instance, the evaluation is answered in a specific way. Would you recommend this conference to others? No. So that means somebody here had a negative experience, and I want my colleagues to follow up on that. So they will be notified when that happens. Likewise, we have the meeting booking. That's the same kind of thing, but in this case, I'm just sending a text message because this is really urgent, so it needs to happen on their phone, I guess. Send a text message to the responsible, someone responsible when someone says, would you like to book a meeting? Yes, please contact me. And then that will happen automatically when these things arrive. So just let me just quickly pop into my inbox here. As the recipient, as the invitee, you can see I get my invitation. I got the confirmation that I had that I have signed up. I have my start event button there. I have my add to calendar feature. So if I want to include that, I can use an add to calendar functionality. So it will go straight into my calendar when people sign up. And then lastly, I have my feedback invitation for the evaluation. Now in my sales inbox, I would see a notification. So this was one of the notifications. An event, you're receiving this because an event you're subscribing to has occurred, namely that Cynthia from 123 Warehousing has given a form evaluation, and she has said, would you recommend this conference to others? No. So you get the evaluation that she gave, you get her contact details, so you're in the know. You need to act on this negative evaluation. So that is an example of the email notification that could go off when something specific happens. In this case, she answered no to the conference. Let me just bring up my phone here as well. So we go ahead and share duplicate screen, MacBook Pro. Let me see if we can bring up my phone here real quick. Here we are. Let us go into messages, and you can see there's a message here from Avenir. This was the SMS that should go to the event participant. Hi, Klaus, we're looking forward to seeing you at the Virtual Future Watch. Are you joining us from your phone? Use this link. So that would be the one that went out to the event participant. And then likewise, I have an automation that says, Roger Ramirez from Widget Corp triggered an event that you subscribe to. You can click that link, and then the notification opens on the phone. It's a little bit difficult for you to see here, but again, it says Roger has submitted the evaluation, and as you can see, it says, would you like to book a meeting? Yes, please contact me. So you can get these informations right into the hands of your sales team, your account managers, anybody who's responsible here for this kind of information right on their phones. Okay, let me get that out of the way. There we go. Okay, so back in eMarketeer, here we are. We have looked at all of the different components that I needed for my event. I have my event communication set up. The invitation can go out. I can schedule that, obviously. Registrations, confirmation, reminders have been scheduled, SMSs, and evaluations. So everything is really set on autopilot. Once this is done, I can leave the event engine running here, and eMarketeer will take care of everything that happens here automatically. So what I like to do is get some overview of what is going on with my event here to see not only the performance, but also how are people interacting with my event. And I'm going to use campaign reporting for that purpose and report on what is going on in the event here. So I'm going to click Add Campaign Reporting, and I want to do a funnel, because I want to see the kind of the process that people are going through to registering for my event and participating and evaluating, and see how my conversions are throughout my event process there. So the first one I would like to add on to here is the invitation. I would like everybody that got the invitation. That is my first bar in my chart, in my funnel. That's kind of the gross list of people who have been invited. 21 folks so far have been invited to the event. Then I want, in the invitation again, I want to see everybody that clicked the invitation. So that kind of shows me whether they're engaging to go through to the registration form or whether my invitation is really not performing. I can see at this point I have a 52% conversion rate from they got the invitation to they actually click to go through to the registration page. Then I want to add the registration, Avenir registration, and I would like to see everybody who submitted that. And that goes onto my funnel as well. So out of the 11 that clicked through, 7 have actually registered. And then the last bit, I would like maybe evaluation to put on there, everybody that submitted the evaluation. So that is now my event funnel. People are invited. Some are clicking through to see the registration page. Some are registering, and some have submitted the evaluation. And I can see the conversion rates throughout the process here. So I can go ahead and add that to my event campaign, and I can see a nice report here that constantly updates when people are registering and clicking and so on. I could add a couple of more bells and whistles here, so just let me scale this down in size a little bit, and I will get more room in my campaign overview to add more reporting. I want to do a goal gauge because I have a goal of how many people I would like to have registering for the event. So I'm going to choose the event registration. How many submits have that gotten? My target is 20 registrations maybe. And the chart will then show my performance right now versus my goal. I can change the buttons, the colors here, and Avenir, I can change the heading here, event registrations as well, update that. Maybe that's a little bit long. No, I think that's fine. Go ahead. So here I can see that right now, 7 people have registered. My target is 20. So I am 35% there to meeting my target. And then lastly, maybe I want to do a KPI calendar. I want to see how many people have evaluated, for instance, the event. There we go. Just as a nice KPI calendar to see a nice overview there. Yeah, Avenir evaluations, done. And then my campaign, event campaign reporting is all set up and neatly laid out in my campaign here. So I have really tabs on everything that's going on. So as you can see, setting up everything here on one platform, you can communicate across different channels. You can automate both to the event participants with the reminders and confirmations and evaluations. You can automate to your colleagues by notifying them about what's going on. You can share reports about the event performance, and everybody is really kept in the loop. Now, something that I like to do as well with our events and basically our marketing campaigns in general is to keep people informed internally about what we're doing. What events are we doing? What webinars are we running? And so on. And I'm using landing pages for that purpose. So as you can see here, we have a landing page. That was our website. Here's a landing page called Marketing Activities and Campaigns. This is a landing page built in eMarketeer. So whenever I update it there, this page is always updated. So I can just share this link with my colleagues. And when they click that link, they can see when is our next event taking place, what does our event schedule look like. They can click through to see the different event components. Maybe you have some videos that you want to share with your colleagues there, so they are up to speed on what material you present. You have an image gallery maybe where you can share screens or product updates to show your colleagues there, and they can browse through and see all of that. Oh, sorry about that. That went all full screen on me. I was supposed to click that one. Maybe you have presentation materials, team presentations, just a lot of information that's very useful for my colleagues about what we're doing in marketing. As you may have experienced, we're doing a lot of webinars. So I've also done a webinar central landing page, which is used for internal purposes. People can click through to register. They can see our event flow, event registration, confirmation, webinars, and so on. They can see videos of on-demand webinars. I'm really just keeping my colleagues up to date on what's going on, and sharing a link here with them is a lot more efficient than sharing emails back and forth whenever something is updated. That link is always up to date when we put in content in eMarketeer there. So I think that's a good way of making content available to colleagues, making sure that they are informed here. All right, so we are closing in on the hour, and I want to make sure that I get to answer your questions. So if you have questions that I haven't answered yet, please go ahead and submit them in the questions box, and I will be going through as much as I can of your questions and answers there. So just go ahead and send me more questions your way, and I will dive into the questions now. All right, so here's a question from Kirsten. How do you use Sapir for your virtual events? That's a very broad question, Kirsten, but the gist here is that eMarketeer has an integration to Sapir, and Sapir has an integration to tons of platforms out there: webinar platforms, streaming platforms, event platforms, and so on. So in our case, for instance, as I mentioned, and I'm gonna use that as an example, we use a GoToWebinar for our virtual events here, for our webinars. But I would like to keep my invitation and registration process and everything that I've shown. I would like to keep that in eMarketeer, and then only let GoToWebinar do the stuff that GoToWebinar excels at, like sending the unique participant link to the participants, hosting the entire event, the virtual event process and everything that we're doing here, recording the webinar. That's their expertise. So I want to use my process over here and then automatically add event participants to Sapir, to GoToWebinar via Sapir. And you can go to Sapir, and in this case, I've just done a search for webinar platforms. And there are lots of different webinar platforms or virtual meeting platforms, event platforms that also integrate into Sapir. So maybe if you already have one, check out if that exists on Sapir. Here's Webinar Geek, for instance. I know that's growing in popularity. So since Webinar Geek integrates to Sapir, you can send information to Webinar Geek, and you can receive information to Webinar Geek in and out of eMarketeer through Sapir. So check out whether your existing platform is already on Sapir. If it's not, and if you haven't chosen a platform yet, maybe it's a good thing to kind of check out whether your platform that you're considering integrates via Sapir. Just let me see here. I should be able to bring up. These are my SAPs. Let me just bring up the SAP that we're using for this webinar, virtual event management. So what we're doing here, I'm not going to go into details on SAP here. If you need more information about this, we'll be happy to help. I'm just giving you kind of the highlights here. What this can do is whenever I register someone in eMarketeer for a webinar, I put them into a list in eMarketeer. And putting them to a list can trigger something to happen in Sapir. So in Sapir, what you're doing is you're choosing eMarketeer as your app, you're choosing the event trigger, new contact is added to a list. I choose my eMarketeer account. I choose which list that I should be looking for. In this case, it's the webinar registration, virtual event management, 12th of November. So whenever somebody is added to this list, Sapir can do something for me. In this case, create a registrant in GoToWebinar. Again, I choose my app, I choose my account on GoToWebinar, and I can choose which fields I would like to go into GoToWebinar. So first name, last name, email address, and company, for instance. So now this data is automatically sent from eMarketeer into GoToWebinar whenever somebody is added to the list virtual event 12th of November. And then GoToWebinar on their end sends out the confirmation email with the link to the webinar in this case. So that's how we have put on autopilot that eMarketeer registrations go right into GoToWebinar. And you can do something similar with your event platforms, I'm sure, if they are available on GoToWebinar. Now, I'm kind of keeping an eye on Webinar Geek because they have a lot automations actually, or SAPs available. So for instance, when someone interacts with your event and does something specifically, they could send information back to eMarketeer with more information. So I'm going to check that out. So maybe sometime in the near future, if you join an eMarketeer webinar, it'll be on a new platform. Who knows? I'm always curious about what's possible out there. That was a long-winded answer. I'm sorry about that. I hope that it kind of gave some inspiration to how we use Sapir and how we get information across there. All right, so keep questions coming if you have them. I just want to make sure that I get to mention that we have a couple more webinar coming up this autumn. We're on the finishing stretch of our webinar series here. The first one that comes up is November 19th. So next week, we're going to look at lead management for eMarketeer. So kind of the same thing here with event management, but looking at lead management. What do you do when you get a new lead? How do you nurture these leads, and how do you hand them over to sales? How do you automatically follow up with your leads based on their behavior rather than based on what you think is good at sending, but really listening to what they're doing? So that's November 19th. Then we have on the 24th, we have lead management, but focusing on SuperOffice CRM, how eMarketeer and SuperOffice CRM play together in the lead management process, and how eMarketeer puts a lot of information into the SuperOffice CRM for your sales and account managers. And one more SuperOffice CRM webinar on the 26th, focusing on event management, just like today, but where you put on your SuperOffice CRM hat and see how can we make this information that we generate on the marketing side with our event communication, how can that populate information and keep people up to date right inside SuperOffice CRM. So those are a couple of the webinars that are coming up in the near future. So I hope that we will see you at some of those webinars. If some of this stuff seems interesting to you that we've been going through today, and you would like to really build on your event communication efforts there, automate more of your stuff, maybe play around with Sapir and see if you can get your eMarketeer and your webinar platform or event platform of choice to play together, reach out to us. If you've got my email, klaus@emarketeer.com, you'll see our support and consulting emails there. If you have an eMarketeer partner, reseller that you're working with, they can most likely help you out as well. So just really you're not alone. Don't rely on your own competencies. And if you think you can't do it, we are here to help to make you make the most out of your eMarketeer account. All right. There are no more questions at this point. If you do have, send them my way, and I will be happy to go through anything that I've missed or that you're curious about. Until then, thank you for your time today. I hope to see you on an upcoming webinar. I'm going to send you the recording and the evaluation. Just send me a reply back what you thought about the webinar. Let me know if you have done any really cool things that maybe I could demo or showcase at some point. I would love to highlight some of the stuff that you guys are doing. So if you are up for that, let me know by replying to me when I send you the recording today. All right. So thank you very much for joining the webinar today. I hope to see you in the near future on one of our webinars and hear what you are up to with regards to your events, be it physical or virtual. Let's hope we can all meet face to face in the not too distant future in these crazy times. But until then, stay safe and have fun during your events in eMarketeer. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for your time. Bye-bye.